Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's start with a check of the top headlines this hour. BNP expresses confidence in forming government after landmark poll. Opposition says won't engage in obstructive politics. World leaders congratulate Tariq Rahman. US President Donald Trump warns Iran of a very traumatic outcome without a nuclear deal. He expressed hope for progress in the next month following his White House meeting with Netanyahu. North Korea vows a terrible response to any further drone incursions from the south. Seoul denied official involvement in the January incident, attributing it to civilians. Officials announced the conclusion of the immigration enforcement operation in Minneapolis in US's Minnesota. A congressional hearing reviewed ICE's presence, while a judge ruled that detainees were denied access to lawyers. Obama says US less safe after Trump reverses Obama-era ruling that greenhouse gases endanger public health. The White House called the reversal the largest deregulation in American history, saying it would make cars cheaper. US President Donald Trump says Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should receive a pardon for corruption charges, saying Israeli President Isaac Herzog should be ashamed of himself for not granting one. Russia fully blocks US messenger app WhatsApp owned by Meta Platforms for failing to comply with local law, suggesting Russians turn to a state-backed national messenger instead. NASA set to launch 4 astronauts to the International Space Station, replacing a crew that was evacuated early due to a medical issue. The pre-dawn launch was delayed by 2 days over adverse weather forecasts across the US East Coast. And viewers, our top focus here on NewsX World this morning is on Bangladesh. Bangladesh's Jamaat-e-Islami Party chief Shafiqur Rahman has stated that his party will not engage in the politics of opposition for its own sake, indicating a concession in the national election. As provisional results show, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party and its allies have secured 211 of the 299 seats in the Jatiya Sangsad, with Jamaat winning 70 seats. Rahman confirmed that his party would now focus on positive politics. This election is seen as Bangladesh's first free and fair poll in over 17 years, following months of deadly anti-Hasina unrest. Let's listen in to what Bangladesh Jamaat-e-Islami chief Shafiqur Rahman had said.
আমরা আশা করছি যে খুব দ্রুতই সরকার তার অফিশিয়াল রেজাল্ট পাবলিশ করার সাথে সাথে আমরা আবার আপনাদেরকে কষ্ট দেব। তখন আমরা আমাদের চূড়ান্ত দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি জাতিকেও জানিয়ে দেব, আপনাদেরকেও জানিয়ে দেব। তবে আপনারা আশ্বস্ত থাকতে পারেন যে আমাদের দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি হবে ইতিবাচক ধারার রাজনীতি, কল্যাণ ধারার রাজনীতি, মানুষের জন্য রাজনীতি, দলের জন্য রাজনীতি নয়। আমরা বিরোধিতার জন্য বিরোধিতা, ওই রাজনীতি আমরা করব না।
Joining me now in this discussion is retired Major General Sudhakar Ji, Senior Strategic and International Affairs expert, joins us from Jaipur. Very good morning to you, sir, and thanks for joining us. It's a big win, of course, for the BNP, but Awami League is now saying that it will reach out to BNP, and Hasina's son is vowing, Awami League come back. How should we take that?
Good morning, Kriti. Thank you for getting me for your show. Very interesting and deep meaning question you have raised. It will be a welcome development because the present election, no matter what the outcome is, my understanding and analysis suggests that it is going to be a very tall order as far as the staying power of BNP is concerned. The Bangladesh today is not what it is to be prior to August 2024. There are all and sundry who have contributed and made Bangladesh to be a new epicenter of global terrorism. You name any person from Hamas, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, ISIS, Rohingya alliances, etc., etc. And if he can pull it off, nothing like it. But one should be prepared for these eventualities. Because why am I saying this? If you look at the history, the data sheet or the CV of Rahman, well, I'm not trying to point a finger at the character, but look at the profile of this individual. He was involved in corruption. There are a number of cases against him. Okay, so, and he barely he managed, while the political front, his mother used to be the front desk person looking after the party. The real power of BNP during his mother's time was wielded by this person. And he is to do it by ruthless measures. 10% of everything. Anyway, will not digress onto the issue. The second issue that I wish to highlight is this point which you have read would contribute towards inclusiveness of the political dispensation of Bangladesh as a country. This has got a futuristic objective, and this will do good to Bangladesh, because non-inclusion of a dominant party in Bangladesh in a democratic form of activity, it doesn't actually pay well for the staying power of Bangladesh as a leading economy amongst the least developed or developing countries in the world today. And last but not the least, there are competing spheres of influence which are intersecting in Bangladesh today. You have USA, you have and you have the radical Islam. The same Jamaat we are talking of are the people who were responsible for genocide of more than 3 million people. They are the same Jamaat who raped 250,000 women and the girl children of Bangladesh. We are giving them a chance to come back to power in Bangladesh. The very generation, the revolution of Bangladesh took place on the paradigm of not two-nation theory. It is the Bengali Muslim. It is not Bangladeshi. Bangladeshis are totally different. They cannot be equated with Pakistan Muslims, because Pakistan Muslims, they have an orientation of Arabic and that of Persian culture, whereas the Bangladeshi, they are more actually integrated with our geography and the culture of India and West Bengal. That has to be seen. They're the more liberal, more Sufist kind of, Muslims. They may be having the religion Muslim, but they speak Bengali. Bengali, the language turned out to be the central point of division, and the two-nation theory was busted with the liberation of Bangladesh in 71. Back to you, Kriti.
Right. What's in this election results for the US now? We already know of BNP leaders having met with US officials. There was also contact of the deep state in the US with the Bangladesh leadership. How is Bangladesh under Tariq Rahman now going to strike a balance between US and China on the one hand, and then also between India and Pakistan on the other?
Yeah, good question again. You see, my take on the whole issue, one has to be mindful of who is Tariq Rahman, the BNP leader. He is supported by the deep state. He is the representative of the BNP, who is supported by the larger force from the USA. Now, what is USA today? USA is a declining superpower. Why has it come into Bangladesh so late? Better late than never. It has come in so as to give a strategic pushback to China. Why China? Because China has penetrated into Bangladesh so significantly, it has started impacting the way of life and changed the dependency of the local people. So how are the local people dependent on that? By virtue of having deep pocket and money. Today, the media says 72%. I am saying 83% of military hardware is imported by Bangladesh from China. And if that be the kind of talk about any infrastructure, $38 billion in past 13 years have been committed, out of which 20 billion or more have been already applied. They have got the dams, they have got the bridges, they have got the hydel power stations, they have got the national highway pipeline, they have got railway lines also, communication towers. The stock exchange of Bangladesh has been taken over by the state-owned enterprise of China. So these are the Navy of Bangladesh is undergoing the process of transforming into three-dimensional forces. Not all navies in the world have got this capability. They have got the submarines docking at, there is a place called Pekua, there is Qutubdiya, Chinese submarines. So what more do you expect? They're all around. So therefore, to give a push, and also the latest deal they're going to go in for, 11 times the delegation of Bangladesh has gone to China in past 1.5 years, or more than 11 times. They have struck a deal with China to buy that what is that aircraft I forget? JF-17 Thunder. It is a 4.5 generation aircraft. They're getting it at a cheaper price. Now, America, whatever it is doing, wherever it is showing interest, behind the official agenda, they have got a hidden agenda looking for defense product market, looking for oil market, looking for pharmaceutical market, looking for drug money and the rare earth element. Here is Bangladesh, which is offering, America is coming into South Asia in a big way, because if you read the book called Monsoon, Indian Ocean, the future of American power, it says in one simplistic statement that the 21st century will witness the global commercial basket gravitating towards Indian Ocean. So what is the meaning of Indian Ocean? It is India as the largest country and all its immediate neighborhood all around. So therefore America is trying to make a comeback to these particular immediate neighborhood of India and strangulate India as much as China is doing against us. Therefore, we have to be mentally prepared to fight against or contest, have a counter strategy in effective way against those three competing spheres of influence. Islamic radicalism, number one. Number two, China. Number three, America. That's it, Kriti.
Sure. Okay. Thank you very much for your comments there, General. Do stay on with me as we move on now, viewers. Let's also tell you, US President Donald Trump has warned Iran of very traumatic consequences if it fails to reach a deal on its nuclear program, emphasizing the urgency of negotiations. Trump expressed hope for a result within the next month and stated, "We have to make a deal or it's going to be very traumatic for Iran." These comments came after his discussions with Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, where Trump reiterated his strong stance on the issue. Let's hear his statement.
Following your meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, has your thinking changed at all as it relates to these negotiations with Iran or the timeline with Iran?
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got midnight hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands, but it's ultimately up to.
All right, request General Sudhakar to join me back in the discussion here. General Sudhakar, midnight hammer looms, but Trump is clearly prioritizing a deal over a conflict. What's your comment?
Donald Trump, this is my perspective, Kriti, allow me, because I'm also a student of geopolitics as much as you all are. I am joining the dots. You see, Midnight Hammer took place almost 8 months back. In past 8 months, America as a superpower or declining power has gone through such tumultuous journey as much as the world has gone through the geopolitical churn. Epstein file is the biggest challenge before the survival of Donald Trump and his dominance as a Republican. They call it what? GOP. Okay. So when you, besides Epstein file, there are a host of issues. There are 25 seats falling vacant in Senate now. Out of 25, I am given to understand there are 9 or 8 of them which belong to Democrat, rest are Republican. Republicans are fearing that, like it has happened in past 1.5 years or a little more than 1 year, the Democrats are making a comeback with thumping majority in 3 or 4 provinces, including 1 or 2 mayors. So they are fearing that it may be a clean sweep for the Democrats. This is the biggest pressure which is playing in the mind of Donald Trump. The second point which is playing in the mind of Donald Trump is that the tariff issue is hanging fire in the Supreme Court. They are supposed to have given judgment in December. It didn't happen. January, it didn't happen. February. Now we are expecting the judgment to be given on 20th of February because Supreme Court is more than convinced. My internal analysis, personal analysis, I would say, suggests that Supreme Court is going come down very heavily against Donald Trump.
Okay.
Either through silent kind of strictures being issued to him and his executive powers are going to be curtailed. There are some major steps going to be taken by Supreme Court if USA has to continue to sustain itself as a declining superpower. If it doesn't, then they are actually throwing everything to fire. Whole USA is going to be on fire. There are a host of issues. So therefore, the domestic activities or turbulence which is troubling Donald Trump will always prohibit. This is one angle. Secondly, if you allow me, what is happening in Middle East? We need to understand there are, officially the American authorities have said there are 19 bases. I am saying there are 31 bases, including small, big, this thing in Middle East. Now, out of all these bases, all bases do not have the Iron Dome. All of them have been registered as targets. In military parlance, we call it as registration of targets by Iran. Now, what kind of warheads is it going to use? It has got some kind of, this is a country which has got a largest inventory of drones, next to China, I would say. And the drones have got the loiter ammunition capability. They have the terminal guidance. They can do surveillance. They can do intelligence gathering, etc., etc. They have high altitude endurance drones. They have long range. And what I'm trying to say is that means and methods or the projectiles which Iran has, full of the fact that way back when the Damascus mission, the diplomatic mission of Iran was hit by Israel way back sometime in April last year, they had retaliated for the first time. It is the first direct confrontation that took place between Iran and Israel. Their missiles of Iran, they managed to penetrate through the Iron Dome. Why? Iron Dome is actually cut out. It is, the architecture is so designed that it is meant for short-range rockets, oblique missiles up to 70 kilometers. Beyond 70 kilometers, it cannot pick up. The radar system cannot pick up, detect, or intercept any of the missiles, oncoming missiles. Iran, as on today, has got long-range missiles. It has got hypersonic missiles. It has been provided with a large number of quantum of S-300 and 400 air defense missiles by Russia. China also has sent 58 cargo logistic aircrafts. They landed between 28th of January to 31st of January 2026 in Tehran airport or nearby airports. What are these aircrafts carrying? Definitely not the flower garlands, the weapon hardware that were required for the Iran. So therefore, all I'm saying, plus mindful of the fact that surveillance vessels of China, the PLN, are already making rounds in the Persian Gulf, in the Arabian Sea. They're keeping an eye on the aircraft carrier. They're providing timely and accurate intelligence to Iran, which is actually, about deflecting or addressing the biggest challenge of military planning, that is the surprise factor. Today, America cannot go in for any strike if the surprise component is not retained in favor of American forces. If surprise is lost, then take it that the aircraft will be broken up into not two pieces, the aircraft carrier will be broken up into multiple pieces. That capability Iran has. One should not ignore or underestimate the enemy. So therefore, he's very cautiously trying to take measures of diplomacy and dialogue and try to put pressure, call it as mutton zef that we generally call in military science. One is a hammer, the other is a friend. Friend in this case is Oman. I don't think Israel and America, they both would be. Israel is very keen to go in for the kinetic attack. But Donald Trump is hesitant. He is unlikely, in my opinion, going to go in for the military strike against Iran because the cost is going to be prohibitive against his expectations. Bye.
General Sudhakar, thanks very much for sharing your understanding of the situation with our viewers. And we now move on, viewers. Japanese authorities have seized a Chinese fishing boat near Nagasaki and arrested its captain after the vessel allegedly fled an inspection inside Japan's exclusive economic zone. Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara said the 47-year-old Chinese national ignored orders to stop and is now under investigation. Japanese Chief Cabinet Secretary stated the following. Do listen in.
2月12日木曜日の午後0時ごろ、屋久島西方の我が国の排他的経済水域において、水産庁漁業取締船が立ち入り検査を拒否した中国漁船の船長を逮捕したと承知しています。現在、捜査中でありますが、外国漁船による違法操業の防止及び抑止のため、今後とも毅然とした対応で取締り活動に取り組んでまいります。
Comes amid heightened tension between Asia's two largest economies. It follows the recent snap election victory of Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi, whose remarks about potential military involvement in a Taiwan conflict have drawn criticism from Beijing, leading to a fallout between the two nations. Collins Chong-yu-keet, Foreign Affairs, Security and Strategy Analyst, joins me in this discussion from Kuala Lumpur. Collins, thanks very much for joining us. Let's talk about the fact that this seizure is really the first one by Japan and also the first since 2022, and this is the first for any country. What does that really signify? Because it's not usual for Japan to take such authoritative actions.
Yes, it is a strong, message and a signal from Japan, and of course, it is being seen as a routine enforcement posture by the Japan Coast Guard. Of course, also this is also in violation of the EEZ of Japan, and Nagasaki is strategic in terms of the location, proximity to the East China Sea, as well as in the contested waters of the Senkaku Islands, and this is also a narrative that Japan. Under the Takaichi administration, Japan is firm in its deterrent, efforts to ensure that the overall sovereignty and territorial integrity capacity of Japan are, being defended and being enforced. And this is a hardened maritime enforcement. And Tokyo is seen as enforcing maritime law strictly and without any immediate military escalation. But this is also, this persistent frontline stance against any incursions. And of course, this is a strong message to Beijing that we have now a more robust, dedicated EEZ defense under the Takaichi administration, and that Japan does not tolerate any behaviors or actions that can undermine the sanctity of the sovereignty of Japan, and also does not tolerate any assertive security behaviors. And this is, as we have known, is a typical behavior by Beijing to enforce this gray zone maritime coercion, gray zone activities, and of course, this is a new message by effectively by the Takaichi administration that under the new leadership, we do not tolerate these behaviors, and that we are more than ready and capable to undertake any actions to enforce our maritime law accordingly. And hence we have seen this, and it's a very good move, confidence building measure also for Japan, and a strong message also to Beijing that this is the line that we have set, and we are more than ready now to enforce.
Yeah, and with the resounding victory of Takaichi in the recent snap polls, of course, it's evident of the fact that the people of Japan are in favor of her policies. Do you think this will strengthen her stance against China?
Yes, definitely. We have seen how this is directly from the straight from the resounding landslide victory of Takaichi, and already we have seen practical effects being taken in terms of these realistic threat settings. This is definitely a morale booster for the Takaichi administration, and Japanese people and public can now see that the administration means business, and that the administration also is willing to enforce rules and to send a clear message that there's no tolerance on this kind of behaviors, and that Tokyo is more than ready and capable now enough to ensure that there's effective enforcement, and that of course Tokyo is also ready to protect its own sovereignty and to stand up to its right in contested areas, especially around the Senkaku Islands, and this is also a show of force by the Japan Coast Guard, and of course also a public messaging to domestic audience as well that this is again from the framework of law enforcement. But I don't see any kind of tit-for-tat escalations. China might frame this as yet another provocation by Japan and is trying to pin the blame on Takaichi. But Japan has the higher moral stance here, and of course from a legal point of view. And again, this is another dynamic of the gray zone behaviors by Beijing. But the Takaichi administration has more than enough capacity to deal with this, and with this newfound public support behind Takaichi, and definitely the sentiments and the support are now firmly on the side of the Takaichi administration.
All right, Colin, thanks very much for your comments. Stay on with me. Viewers, we now proceed to news on the Korea's. North Korea has issued a stern warning of a terrible response in the event of another drone incursion from South Korea. This follows an investigation by Seoul into a cross-border incident from January, where North Korea claims it shot down a surveillance drone near its industrial hub of Kaesong. Kim Jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, stated that any violation of North Korea's sovereignty would provoke severe consequences. South Korean investigators are currently probing the incident, which has heightened tension between the two nations. The investigation has led to multiple raids on multiple government locations, including the spy agencies' offices. Collins, how would you respond to the latest development? Collins, how would you respond to the latest development here?
Yes, we have seen how this is again a maneuver by Pyongyang in terms of how to frame these incursions. Of course, drone incursions are not being taken lightly, and they are seen as in the lens of a very humiliating way, where it can penetrate, it can observe, it can psychologically pressure the regime, and of course we've seen how this defiance, this protest being seen by Pyongyang, and of course it doesn't differentiate between whether it's from civilians or from the governments. Of course, Seoul has countered the narrative, and that he has stated that it's from civilians, and still Pyongyang wants Seoul to take up more responsibilities to ensure that the border remains secure and to prevent any kind of these further incursions from whether it's from civilians or whether it's from government. And we have seen how this the influence and the policies being taken also have been largely being framed by Kim Yo-jong, and we have seen how, despite the regret being stated, being sent by Seoul, Yo-jong is using this to further escalate and to project a new tough stance on the part of Pyongyang, and hence we have seen how Yo-jong is also being at the front line now. But more importantly, it is also part of the efforts also to boost domestic sentiments, and of course the anti-South sentiments also in the run-up towards the Congress of the Workers' Party later on this month. The timing of the Congress this month also is playing a role here. But of course, drones are seen as an irritating and humiliating kind of tool and maneuver, and hence we have seen how the response by Pyongyang has been this assertive.
Collins, thanks then very much for joining me in this discussion. And viewers, we now move on to some news from the US. The FBI has said that it was increasing the reward for information leading to the location of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of TV news anchor Savannah Guthrie, to $100,000 from $50,000. FBI has released new identifying details about the suspect in the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie have been confirmed after a forensic analysis of the doorbell camera footage by the FBI's Operational Technology Division. FBI has stated that the suspect is described as a male, approximately 5'9" to 5'10" tall, with an average build, and in the video he is wearing a black 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker pack. Viewers, that's all we have time for. Thanks for watching NewsX World.